It's a great day in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, and welcome to Live from Gatlinburg. Friends, we are here today with Kim Williams and Larry Shell, a couple of the featured songwriters from the Smoky Mountain Songwriters Association. Hello, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
It is an honor to have you all with us. Kim, good to see you again.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see you.
And Larry, good to meet you.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, and we have the songwriters going on in town tonight. A whole kit and caboodle of you guys are in town. Can you tell us a little bit about the festival?
Tim, I'll let you
Well,
start.
it's what I understand. I think it lasts about 4 days. I think Cindy Montgomery Reeves is the one that booked me in it, and I was supposed to have been here last year, and I had a thing come up that I couldn't make it. But my daughter was here last year, and I assume this is the second year of it. I think
It is.
And we had a ball. It's been fun. The crowds have been really great and receptive, and all the young songwriters that get to participate in these contests are really enjoying it. I've talked to several of them. They're really getting a kick out of it, getting to sing and be in front of people.
It's really nice to have an avenue for the younger
I
songwriters.
think that's one of the most important things about this festival that I've noticed so far. And
Absolutely.
This is my first time over here. Kim invited me to come in with him on this, and like he said, we've thoroughly enjoyed it. But the one thing I've noticed overall in the last few days is all the excitement that's running through the younger writers, walking the street around and going to the different venues to hear people sing. And some of the older guys like us who've had a few hits along the way, 16 number ones for this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Counting,
Absolutely.
I hope.
And we both
But-
got CMAs behind us. This guy won CMA on Murder on Music Row.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Fantastic.
You know, we've been very fortunate. Kim and I both have discussed this many times before. We both ended up in Nashville at a great time for country music, and we were very fortunate. And now, Kim is proof of this. He's the hardest working man. I used to think James Brown was the hardest working man in show business till I met Kim Williams.
I know I did stay busier than any other songwriter probably ever has, but
Yeah.
it was because I loved every minute of
Do you
it.
have any advice for pitching songs for some of the songwriters that might be listening in today?
Well, you know what, now Larry can address this even better. He's been A&R at a couple of record companies, and he was A&R for Harold Shedd when Alabama was the big act.
Oh, yeah.
He helped find a lot of their songs and A&R'd them. So he can address it a little better. But let me tell you, let me say this. The important thing is it's hard just to go into Nashville and do anything. You gotta be there long enough to network. Anything that you do, I mean, you know Gatlinburg well, so this is your kind of territory.
Sure.
And Pigeon Forge, and you know how to network. You know people, and every year you know more people because you're out working, and that's the way it works. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard when you first go to Nashville cold, and I did. I mean, we all.
Well, when you come in, just like you're asking about a new young songwriter, if you're going to pitch songs to a record label, A&R person, or manager, be cordial. Do not push too hard, but don't just lay down. You got to let them know you're there, and you got to let them know you're serious.
Yeah.
I was told when I first came to town, Larry, I had an old timer pull me aside, and he said, "Larry, they watch you for a while now before they really fool with you much." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Some guys come here and stay 6 months and disappear and never be seen again.
True.
They can't take it." He said, "They watch the guys that stick and work." You know what? He told me, he said, "You know, we got an old 5-year rule around here." I said, "Tell me about that, you know." He said, "About the fourth, if you really can write some songs that are commercial, about the 4th or 5th year you're here, you'll get you a good cut." And you know what? You could almost set your watch by it, buddy.
Wow.
That 4th year I started getting a few songs.
Is that right?
5th year I had a hit.
5 years.
It's-
Time I
it's-
first started going down and really going after.
Is that Devil Danced in Empty Pockets?
Yeah.
Diffie?
That's
Yeah.
the first big one. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I had some cuts before that, but as far as I just got signed to Sony, so it was my first deal. 5 years is
Yeah.
about right. I've heard that thing too.
Now, you know, a lot of times passed since several years past since I was literally down on the road day in, day out. I don't do that anymore. And I would think that rule still holds some water. It's like Kim said. I don't care what kind of business you're in. You've got to network if you're going to be successful.
Absolutely.
You can't hide.
Yeah.
You know.
The guy that I met when I first started going down there that would see me, very few people would see you. I mean, and I've told the Knoxville Songwriters, I mentor them once a month and try to help them. And I told them, I said, you got to remember, but there are a lot of closed doors because people that preceded you were jerks.
Let me say this too for the young songwriters who might be listening. If you decide to go to Nashville and make a trip there, do a little pre-planning. Don't
Do your homework.
Do not drive
Yeah.
to Nashville from somewhere and just think you can walk down the street like we used to in 1976 and knock on the publisher's door. Back then they'd say, "Come on in," but
Sure.
that's not going to happen now. And you do need to do a little pre-planning, a little investigation of what companies you'd like to try to get in. You can usually hit 3 or 4 a day if you've mapped it out real good. You know.
Sure.
Call ahead, ask for an appointment. Don't take too many songs in. Don't tell them how great you are because, as Kim said, you're not great yet. They'll tell you when you're great. But anyway, do it like that, and you've got a much better chance of getting in. And I guarantee you, if there's a really, really, really good song, and when I say good song, a commercial song.
Sure.
Okay. Someone in that town eventually will pick up, and hopefully you'll be in the right place at the right time with the right.
Now, is there a difference in, say, writing for commercially successful artists 20 years ago as opposed to today? Are you looking for different themes, or are you thinking about different chord structures, or is it pretty much just the same?
That question, and I think I can answer that, and I think Shell will agree with me. Doesn't this change over 5 years or 10? It changes every day. It's pretty hard to perceive the changes and detect what they are
On a daily basis.
But over a period of 6 months, it changes. An example: when I was going to Nashville, and I was really getting familiar with what's going on. And I grew up in country music where you write a lot of drinking songs.
Sure.
I mean, and it still comes and goes. And that's the trouble with what's commercial. It comes and goes. Well, I was writing with a guy in Knoxville before the Knoxville Songwriters meeting, and he wanted to write this song. He had an article cut out of a paper that said they were to put warning labels on those sad country songs. And I said, you can't get a drinking song cut in Nashville. Forget it. And he badgered me because he was kind of a drinker himself. And we ended up writing this song called Warning Labels, and I played it for Knoxville Songwriters. They loved it, so I took it down. My publisher liked it. Garth Brooks ended up doing the demo, and probably would have cut it later. But in the meantime, while all this is going on, this is over a period of a year by the time we wrote it and got it demoed. Garth puts out a song called Friends in Low Places. And everybody's looking for a drinking song. So Doug Stone ends up cutting this song. So that's how, within a year, my statement, drinking songs were not only popular, but in demand. So that cycles all the time.
It does. It does.
And it's never stopped.
And once that trend is set in Nashville, hey, as a songwriter, I will say this to all songwriters. Make your catalog as wide and broad as you can.
Yes.
Because when that trend does change, you need to be able to reach back here and get drinking songs if it's what they want. Because it's all in what they want.
I inherently knew
I'm telling you.
that when I was writing, I was lucky enough to be involved in Garth's career. But at the same time, and I was really glad I was involved, and I made myself available every time he wanted to write.
Sure.
This is the guy.
Sure.
But I was also writing for people like George Strait, getting cuts on him, and Reuben McIntyre. And my thinking was, if you know anything about evolution and you read about it, the more you specialize, the more likely you are to become extinct.
True.
And if you're a koala bear and you live on eucalyptus only, and eucalyptus dies out, your species is gone.
True.
And so I knew inherently, and I always tried to keep myself wide because I wanted to be there no matter if Garth was there or not.
Sure.
If he decided to retire, when he did later, you know. So I think that helped me have the career that I've had because I didn't just try to live off of one great guy who was doing good. I tried to keep it wide.
And that's what I'm saying to young people. They need to write in different, use different themes, come up with different ideas, different, look for different things. Far from, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, Nashville's got an influx right now of some little hip hop rap stuff coming into the music, and you know, it's working. It's just like you and I talked about the Florida Georgia Line.
The cruise song. Sure. Yeah.
Song. And you were asking about pitching in the old days to the guys and what's different.
Exactly.
Yeah. One point I wanted to make on that will help writers. It is different, and I'll tell you the biggest factor in that is the fact that nowadays when a writer writes a song, they're all hoping to get to write with the artist. Because that is generally the way a lot of those songs appear on the CDs or the records. Back in the old days, if Kim and I had a great country song, we didn't necessarily have to sit down with Ray Price or George Strait or anybody to co-write it with him. They would say, "This is a great song, I'm going to cut it." Nowadays, and I'm going to tell you how I can back this up. For fact, I've talked to several publishers. I still stay in touch with the publishing community in Nashville. And every one of them, without fail, have told me, "Larry, nowadays I spend more time on the telephone trying to hook my writers up with the artist to write than I do trying to hook just two songwriters." So we saw it coming a long time ago. And Kim knows it very well because
I
of
bumbled into it. I really did. I wasn't smart enough to say I'm going to write with art because I didn't know Garth Brooks was going to be an artist. I didn't know Joe Diffie was going to be an artist.
And you don't know how big they're going to be.
Guys, and when it kind of made a transition from older singers that had been huge and they're still huge. I mean, the George Joneses, the Merle Haggards. It made a transition, and all of a sudden we had the Alan Jacksons and the Garth Brookses and the new wave, and I just happened to be right in the middle of it. So that's an example. But when he said hook, a lot of people don't understand it, and I tried to explain what a hook is. But you can't just put those antennas up and take them down. They got to be up all the time. You got to learn for those things to be up all the time.
Yep. A writer writes every day. Every day.
That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know,
and
bridge builders build bridges.
That's it.
That's what we do, and you got to be willing to take the rejection and just keep plugging.
You must be willing to take the consequences of a writer's life.
Critics are cruel. I mean, they really are. I remember a critic. It didn't bother me, but it was funny. Robert Orman was a great critic. I loved him, but I remember him saying that about a record that came out. He said, "Another Brontosaurus lumbers its way back to the tar pits." I read about a critic, and I told Shell this. I read it. It said, "A critic is like a eunuch in a harem. He sees it done every day. It's done, but he can't do it." But you got to get used to that criticism. Shell's right. You got to let it roll off of it.
Absolutely. Well, words to live by, and great advice. And I want to thank y'all so much, Kim and Larry. Yes, absolutely. And come back anytime. We are live from Gatlinburg. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us.